Hey guys, John B here from Phone Arena. Right now you're watching our video comparison between the Microsoft Surface Pro and the Apple iPad 4. Two titans in the market right now. We know that the Surface Pro is sporting the higher price point just because it's running the full Windows 8 desktop experience while still packing on some components that make it more like a laptop than anything else. On the other hand, we have the always competitive Apple iPad 4. It's proven itself countless times in many comparisons, well-rounded performance, and of course, as we know, it has a very rich ecosystem of third-party applications. So which one are you going to put your hard-earned money into? The Surface Pro, the iPad 4? Let's find out in this comparison right now. Well, there's no arguing that both these tablets are solidly constructed and they have very unique designs that make them very distinctive. But we still have to go with the iPad on this one just because it's both lighter and also skinnier than the Surface Pro. And on top of that, it's more comfortable to hold in the hand just because of the curved casing versus the more sharper edges around the Surface Pro. So here we are with their displays. The iPad 4, as we know, has a 9.7-inch Retina display. Its resolution is higher between the two, 2048 by 1536 versus the 10.6-inch 1080p, so that's 1920 by 1080 pixels display on the Microsoft Surface Pro. So when it comes down to pixel density in terms of numbers, the iPad 4, of course, has it 264 pixels per inch versus 208. And of course, honestly, when you look at it from a far distance away, it's really hard to gauge which one's the more detailed between the two. But the more we look at it very closely, we begin to see that, of course, the iPad 4's Retina display just has that sharpness to its details to give everything a good amount of clarity. At the same time, they're both IPS LCD-based panels, so they produce some very natural-looking colors, a little bit more warmer tones on the Surface Pro, but the brightest output goes to the iPad 4. They're both very visible in outdoor conditions, but we have to ultimately go with the iPad 4 in this one just because of the higher resolution and, of course, better viewing angles as well. Take into consideration that the Surface Pro is more like an Ultrabook laptop than an actual tablet. We really appreciate some of the ports that it carries along. So for starters, it has an advantage over the iPad 4 in many ways. You have a mini display port for easy video out functionality. You just got to get a separate adapter cable for that. You have also a very useful micro SD card slot, so you could actually supplement its internal storage capacity. And we know that the Surface Pro is available in either 64 or 128 20 gigabyte versions. The iPad 4 goes from 16 all the way up to 128 as well. The other useful thing about the Surface Pro, you have a full-size USB 3.0 port, so you can connect a variety of different peripherals, even storage devices, flash drives, hard drives, mouse, and keyboard, whatever. So it's very flexible in that aspect. And finally, you have the kickstand here, which is very useful too to prop up the tablet. So if you're going to watch videos, it's very convenient in that aspect. And with the iPad, the only thing going for it is pretty much you have the Lightning docking port, which is the new connection that the iPad uses. Same thing as the iPhone 5, of course. A little bit faster connections, of course, firm too. But in order to get video out, you still have to purchase a separate adapter cable for that. There's no comparison here. The iPad 4 seems like the better tablet for taking photos and videos. It's sporting a 5 megapixel autofocus camera on the rear versus the 0.9 megapixel one in the Surface Pro. Surface Pro could shoot 720p videos versus 1080p on the iPad 4. And as far as their front-facing cameras, they're nothing really spectacular. It's a 1.2 megapixel one on the iPad versus the, again, 0.9 megapixel one on the Surface Pro. Now this is where it gets really interesting with their core platform experience. We know with the iPad, it relies on good old iOS, a very mature platform. We like it for the fact that it has been developed for quite some time, so it utilizes a lot of cool gestures to move about between the platform here. And the way they execute things like the notifications panel, even things like Siri, it's very refined in that regard. And on top of that, it has a very rich ecosystem of third-party applications, heavily tablet optimized, and we got to say the apps are more thought out with the iPad 4 than they are with the Surface Pro. Now with Microsoft's tablet, you get the full Windows desktop experience with Windows 8. So it has support for legacy software with Windows 7. So it turns it into basically a Windows PC. So if you're all about productivity, video editing, photo editing, and even the Microsoft Office suite, this is something you're going to really like. Now it has a little bit of a higher learning curve at the beginning, just because you got to learn all these gestures that the platform utilizes. But it's also well executed in some ways. But the biggest thing about it right now is just software support, third-party software support for Windows 8 apps. It just seems like as though it pales in comparison to the deftness that's found with iOS. Honestly, we can't complain about the messaging experience on both tablets just because their layouts are pretty much very spacious and also super responsive, and we have a variety of different options available to us. You have a split style available on both tablets, and of course they're better suited for landscape use than portrait, of course. But the other neat thing about the Surface Pro is the fact that you have also an included stylus, a pressure-sensitive stylus. You can use it for handwriting recognition, but also acts as a tool for navigating across the platform. It's especially useful when it comes to browsing the web, where you could use it like a mouse cursor. You could hover over things. When it comes to surfing the web, we really can't complain much about the experience on either tablet, just because it's so fantastic. They pretty much mirror one another. Really fast page loads, and you have smooth kinetic scrolling, buttery smooth pinch gestures too, and they render things on the fly. There's very minimal weight, but the advantage with the Surface Pro is that you also get the full Internet Explorer browser in the desktop mode, so it does have support for things like Flash, so you get that desktop-like experience with it. It's crazy enough to believe it, but with the music player on the iPad 4, it hasn't really changed since the iPad first rolled out. So it's pretty much the same looking music player as before. And by today's standards, it looks a little bit generic compared to some of its rivals out there. And I think that makes the Microsoft Surface Pro really stand out. It's very dynamic looking with the way it handles, the music here. You have all these cool things going on. It gives you some bio information, some pictures as you're playing music. So it's visually pleasing. As far as audio quality though, the speakers on the Surface Pro are just simply lackluster. They're very weak in tone. The iPad 4 is extremely stronger and more powerful. So if you're going to be taking photos with either tablet, there's no question about it. The iPad is far better and equipped when it comes to taking photos versus the Surface Pro. 5-megapixel camera versus a measly less than 1-megapixel snapper on the Surface Pro, and it really shows in their quality. You get finer details with the iPad 4, and colors are more vivid, of course. You see it's a lot more indistinct, softer tones on the Surface Pro. And the Surface Pro lacks autofocus, so you don't have that sharp clarity you'd like to find. Here's a perfect example here. You can see the car. You see more detail with the iPad 4's cameras. And of course, it's far better too when it comes to low lighting conditions. It just seems like it's able to maintain a good amount of sharpness around the edges between details. It's a lot fuzzier with the Surface Pro. Likewise, the iPad 4 is again the better tablet when it comes to shooting high-definition videos. It's 1080p versus 720p on the Surface Pro. And the biggest differentiator, of course, you could tell here, is probably just the visuals. The details are far more distinctive and clear with the iPad 4 versus the Surface Pro, which is far more softer looking and muddy at times. Well, there's no comparison when it comes to battery life between these two. It's the iPad 4 giving us the better result. It's actually able to provide us at least 1 day of normal usage on a full charge, whereas the Surface Pro with its battery, it's only giving us at the most 6 hours. But we got to think about the type of hardware they're packing and also the software experience. We can't forget that the Surface Pro is packing the beefier dual-core Intel Core i5 processor with 4 GB of RAM, and of course the full Windows 8 experience, which is far more demanding than the iOS experience of the iPad 4. So let's think about both these tablets for a moment here. With the iPad 4, we know that it starts at the base price of $500 for a 16 GB version. And with the Surface Pro, the base version, which is 64 GB of capacity, starts at $900. But again, we got to think about the 64 GB version of the iPad 4. Now that one is at $700. So $700 versus $900, $200 difference in price point. Now here's the thing. If you're going to go with the iPad, it's definitely suited if you already have an existing computer and you really don't want to replace that. And if you want something to complement it, being more of a consumptive device than anything else, watching videos, taking photos, browsing the web, and a rich ecosystem of apps, the iPad is going to be by far the better choice for you. And of course, we know that it has better battery life and a lot easier to handle with its design. But if you're looking to consolidate things, let's say you don't want to bother with a laptop and a tablet, then the Surface Pro is going to be the all-in-one solution for you, just because it is a PC at heart, while at the same time also a tablet. Sure, it is a lot beefier and heavier than the iPad 4, but you get the full arsenal of legacy app support. And on top of that, very useful when it comes to ports and also the feature set and also the hardware that comes in it. So maybe the price point difference between the Surface Pro and the iPad 4 might be good enough for you. So it ultimately comes down to your choice whether or not you want to consolidate or not. So if you'd like to learn more about both tablets, guys, you can check out our website, phonearena.com. It's John V. Thanks for watching.